Hello, and I am so excited to welcome my guest, Junielle. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, Junielle.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited for this conversation. The focus of your business is something that has been an eye-opening experience for me on my journey, and that topic is joy. So I can't wait to dive in. But first, I always like to share with the audience. Tell us a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and yeah.
First off, that absolutely warms my heart, as a business owner, you are doing these fun things and putting things out there and you're hoping that people resonate with them, but you don't really hear it that much. So when you hear someone finally say like, "Oh my goodness, like this means so much," or "This helped me with this or that," it's always so heartwarming. So thank you first off for that. Second, hello everyone. My name is Junielle, founder of the Joy Calendar, basically a platform for millennial women and femmes to have fun, prioritize joy, heal their inner child, and actually live the life that they want, separate from all of the societal pressures and norms, quote unquote, that we need to live by, which tends to give us more stress than anything.
Yeah. And I love that you said healing our inner child because when I was thinking about this episode and talking with you about joy, what really comes to mind is the fact that at some point during our growing up, we lose the it's not the ability. I think we always have the ability. I think it's societal pressure that joy is not important and that other things take precedent over joy.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like the moment you become like a teenager, or even before then, sometimes, depending on your upbringing and how fast you had to grow up, there is that point where, like you're supposed to be more mature. And more mature means that you are more serious. And more serious means that you are doing less fun things. And you lose that childlike wonder to explore new things and try new things. I always think of a skating rink. Like when you see kids go out on skating rinks, like they are falling flat on their face, like they're spending more time like horizontal than they are vertical, like tripping up and everything. Whereas like adults, they're like cautiously moving along and like just so afraid to fall, and because of that, like they have less fun, and I think that it's so important to get back to that and realize that we might be adults, but that doesn't mean that we stopped having fun. Like why are those things mutually exclusive?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely. And it's a process even for me. Like this is my business, which we can also totally get on that and just monetizing hobbies. But this was definitely something where I thought, yeah, I need to get back to having fun.
Mm. Yeah, and to parallel off of that, when you talk about like monetizing hobbies, and my audience is geared towards primarily women entrepreneurs. And part of the reason why we get into business is because we want freedom, we want to make more money. And sometimes we lose the joy in that. Like, we get to build the business the way that we want to. We get to have joy be a foundational aspect. And just like you said, be horizontal more than we're vertical. Like that's okay. Like it's okay to
Yeah.
fail and like it's okay to
Yeah.
laugh as you fail and find joy in failure and the kind of roller coaster journey and just have fun with it.
Absolutely. And it's funny because the more that I've done things that scared me is the more I see that like it really is frightening, like just imagine, oh, and also Marshawn, I'm gonna have a lot of metaphors and analogies. That's just how I live my life.
Hmm.
So, it's like going up that first part of a roller coaster is always that really, really steep incline followed by that really frightening drop.
Hmm.
And like it's easy to do that on a roller coaster because like you'll be fine, but there is a level of uncertainty on the other end of that for the things that we do in our lives. And so I think like it obviously makes sense to be scared of what is to come, but I've always found that that is the whole point. Like if you can overcome the doubt, the frustration of being stuck in one place and finally saying like I'm tired of being here, I want to go somewhere else, let's explore, let's have fun, let's be curious, and let's have fun as much as possible, the things that are on the other side, oh my goodness, like you can't even imagine half of the time. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
So, do you think that there is a connection between fear and joy?
That's a really good question. I do. I think that for us as humans, fear is obviously very important. It has kept us alive in so many ways. People who are fearless, I don't know that that is possible to be fearless. I more resonate with courage, because courage is saying that you recognize that fear, or that there's something to be feared, right? Like we can go out swimming in a body of water. Like you don't have to be fearful of swimming, but you should also recognize that there's a lot that could happen if you're just swimming out there with no care in the world. But I think at the same time, the joy comes in making peace with that and being in the present as much as possible. Because fear is also assuming that you are looking, or it implies that you're looking into the future of what might happen. The moment you say, but what if this happens? You know that you're already somewhere not here in the future, getting ready, or already catastrophizing. So I think that joy and fear is a really beautiful dance of accepting what could happen, but choosing to still enjoy the process as much as possible, and trusting yourself, trusting that you'll be able to handle and manage whatever comes your way.
Wow. There is so much there. Uh, And I
Yes.
want to pause and really sit with fear being future based and joy being present based.
Mm. Ooh, and I love the way that you worded that, because I hadn't considered that. Like, when you hear something said in a specific way and you're like, ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think I love your take on courage too. Like, I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs or people who want to start businesses that, like, I just have to have the confidence to do it. Well, you've never done it before. How can you have confidence in something you've never done? You have to have the courage to do it and trust in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was actually a video that I watched, a reel the other day, that said, the first part of confidence is confide. And when we think of confiding in someone, that is trusting someone with the information that we're giving them. And so if we turn that back on ourselves, it really is trusting ourselves to be able to go through whatever that thing is, because the confidence, it's not a preliminary skill set to have. You gain confidence as you go along, but the only way you're going to do that is if you trust yourself
Mm-hmm.
to dive in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And know that you're going to be horizontal more than you're vertical, and still smile and laugh and live in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we are 9 minutes into recording, and I have yet to get to one question that on my list other than who is Junielle. So I don't know if I've shared this story with you. I definitely haven't shared it with the audience, but I was laid off 2.5 years ago, and I realized that I didn't know what joy meant to me and what how I was showing up to joy on a regular basis. And so it was a huge blow to my ego to get laid off. And so I decided every day I was going to do something that brought me joy. So, and that was hard because I didn't know where it was. So when someone is in that space of unsure what joy means to them, what do you suggest to them? What are your tips?
Think about the things that make you smile, that make you laugh. It doesn't have to be a big thing that you where you like block out time just for joy. You know, like joy can really be, and I think it's even more powerful when you find joy in the little things. So, you know,
Mm.
if you're cleaning your house, if you don't like cleaning, maybe there's something that you can do to make it more enjoyable. So maybe, you know, listen to a podcast like this one, listen to an audiobook, right? Listen to some music and like dance around your kitchen if you want, you know, while mopping the floors, you know, or if you are at a job that, you know, is a little boring at times, you know, maybe you have a nice poster that you look at or with a quote, or you have some colorful pens that are just so fun to have, you know? Or sometimes it is as simple as going for a walk. But I really do hear you and definitely connect with that, and that's part of the reason why I started the Joy Calendar. I was like really burnt out in my first business as a mindset coach, and I was thinking like this can't be it. Like just to like the day in day out being an adult, like you have responsibilities, you have obligations, and maybe you don't have the strongest of boundaries, so your energy is being depleted. So what can you do to have time for yourself where you are feeling rejuvenated and energized because you are doing something that is fun, you know? And for me, that was like, it first had to start with that. So the idea of saying something that was like just for me as like people pleaser, it was like I can't do that. That's There's just so much guilt wrapped up in that.
Hmm.
So it was first just like, hey, maybe I'm gonna hang out with some friends that I really like. And then from there it was just, how do we add a little bit more joy to our day? And how can we stretch that out? And I think that's kind of just how it starts. You know, like don't put pressure on yourself. And sometimes that is all you need to do just to feel joy. It can be less of adding things and more of letting go of things,
Ooh, I love
right?
that.
So let go of the, well, of course, when you get to that point, when you feel comfortable doing, I don't know if you really know if comfortable is the right word, but when you're like at that point of I want change, it's, you know, letting go of perhaps relationships that aren't the best for you, or poor habits that are self-sabotaging towards your goal, you know, that can also look like joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the grace that that gives you of I don't need to add more on. I can take
Yes.
away for joy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Right?
really good. One of the incredible things about being a part of your journey, I know you recently did a joy challenge, was
Yes.
seeing the ripple effect. And I love it because it's like you did something for yourself and then you get to see the impact it has on all these other people. So, can you tell us a favorite ripple effect that you sharing your joy has had with others?
Ooh, there's so many. Honestly, I think that that joy challenge alone was eye-opening to me. Seeing, because it was something, it was essentially a decision that I made within a couple hours of talking to, you know, a friend of ours, Hannah, and it was just meant to be for me. I didn't share it with anyone. It wasn't like a big like, ooh, there's something coming. It was just a, hey, I'm doing this thing. I want to be held accountable, so I'm just going to be sharing this with you all. And then sure enough, like there are so many people saying, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Can I join you?" Absolutely. Other people saying, "Wow, this brought me joy," which was also so beautiful to hear. You know, it really is that ripple effect like you said, where joy is contagious and joy is a beautiful thing. And to have done that and to have seen just how magnetizing that was. Like when I'm in my element, everything or like people are attracted to that.
Mm.
It was it was something that I did not expect and was so grateful for because it really was that it was affirming that I'm in my element, not just because of course I was getting that positive feedback, but more so that I was doing this thing for me first, and it just so happened that other people seeing me have joy help them have joy.
Yeah. That is so powerful. I think as women, we, and as you mentioned earlier, as people pleasers, we can fall into the trap of when I take care of everybody else and meet everybody else's needs, I will feel like enough, I will feel whole. And what I
Right.
heard you say was that when you stood in your authentic self and took care of self, everybody else was able to show up for themselves a little bit more and feel inspired and connected to you because you took care of self first.
I was filling up my cup and then the overflow got handed out to other people. And it was a realization that I really didn't have to take more than what I should have taken from myself to help others. That just by me being myself, I was already doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And doing that is not selfish. There's no selfishness in filling up your own cup and pouring into others with the overflow.
Absolutely. And sometimes I even think like maybe we should almost push back on that. Like, yeah, it is selfish, but like it's needed. Like
Mm.
when did selfish become such a bad thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like when we like separate it, it's self and then there's ish. Like I'm tired ish. Like I'm a little tired, but like not that tired. Like it's for myself first, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So one of the things that is a buzzword, it's probably not necessarily a buzzword, but it's like self-care and people thinking about
Yes.
self-care. And I think there's a lot, I think it's important for self-care, especially as entrepreneurs and building businesses. Yet, I think it's easy to get caught up in the trap of should when you think of self care, when you think of joy, because you see how others are doing it and how you should be doing it. I should wake up at 5 a.m. and go for a
Yeah.
run. I should meditate. I should, I see others dancing in a field. They find joy in that. That's what I should do. How do you suggest women combat that?
It's tough. It's tough, and just holding space for the fact that comparison is that little thing that is always in the shadows ready to come out. And especially with social media and just how easy it is to watch someone live their lives, like what they had for lunch and you haven't spoken to them ever in life, or and like to also like make or draw attention to the fact that those will be the same people on vacation scrolling through like say Instagram and not actually enjoying themselves, which
Mm-hmm.
is also so wild, and I've definitely fallen into that. But yeah, so I think it's really important to know what you need and what you want. So this could look like really just sitting with yourself, or just thinking through some of the things that where like you go to bed at night feeling good about what you did, but before that, who you were. So I think that this often looks like being clear on your values. Like what do you value? Do you want more peace in your life? Do you want more calm? Do you want more adventure? And then making a realistic breakdown of what that can look like, just to give you some ideas. And I think sometimes the first step is unplugging a little bit and just hearing yourself, because then the shoulds are less likely to come, because the should obviously implies that this isn't exactly what you want, but you feel like you need to in order to fit in with what the norm is. And there should not be a norm. We're all individuals. We all like different things. And so just because one person likes this doesn't mean that you have to do it too. So I think that spending time with yourself, which can be really difficult, especially if we're always plugged in, is
Hmm.
really important to get clarity on what you need and then what you want, and honor that in yourself.
That honoring that can be a hard part. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I have had the goal for the longest time to wake up at 5 a.m. and it has not happened yet. But then I really sat with that and thought, okay, but why do I want to wake up at 5 a.m.? Because that's just the outcome. What is the point of that? And for me, it was just to have quiet mornings. I really like the morning to myself.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, so I don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. for that. If I eventually do, that's great, but that wasn't the whole point. And maybe this means, with the flexibility that I have as my own boss and everything, having my own business, maybe this just means not starting work until later in the day and blocking off that time. So now, okay, I woke up at 7, but I still get to have 2 hours of silence because I'm not starting work at 9 a.m. like other people are, and I felt that I should have done.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
Yeah. And what's really interesting, kind of coming full circle, is like how it seems like fear and joy have a deep connection, and should and joy are such opposites.
They are complete opposites. Absolutely. Yeah, the moment should is entering the vocabulary, it's that sign that something isn't in alignment with you,
Hmm.
and that needs to be worked through. Being kind and compassionate with yourself, understanding that it is okay if what everybody else is doing or what you think everybody else is doing, because the reality is that everyone's like, oh man, do I really need to do this? There's so like no, 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 you don't need to do this, but just yeah, like respecting the fact that it is okay if you do not do what you believe is expected of you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so good, and I don't even think I got to half the questions, but I can't believe how fast the time has flown already. And I do like to wrap up with lightning round questions.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back as a guest and talk about like alignment. There's one really cool story around alignment and authenticity and authentic self that I would
Yes.
love to get into. But we are running up on time, so I'd love to invite you back. But first, let's dive into the lightning round questions. Are you ready?
Let's do it. I'm ready. Let's go.
What is a must read book?
The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. 110%.
Ooh. I selfishly, as we kind of talked about selfishness, but I selfishly put this question first because I love adding to my TBR list. And
Yeah.
I think we're 16 episodes in, so we've had 8 interviews maybe. And a single book has not been repeated, which is so cool.
Ooh, that is really cool.
Yeah. All right, question number 2. What does creativity mean to you?
Exploration, finding fun things about yourself, discovering who you are. Like we don't really know ourselves until we do something. So I think that creativity is really exploration in a medium that lights you up. you know?
And what I love is like the fact that you, um, I have yet to hear like creativity be an exploration of self. Like
Hmm.
it's turning it kind of inward, which is really cool.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
GMO, GEMO, good enough, move on. Still working on it. Still working on it. But every now and then, it just like pops in my head like, okay, good enough, move on, next thing. We're not sitting on it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. What is something that's on your bucket list?
I would love to live abroad. And I'm planting the seeds. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that.
Awesome. What is the coolest shit you've done in the last year or are currently working on?
So, as the day of this recording, a week and a half ago, I shaved my head. And that was a pretty terrifying, right? Kind of again coming full circle to like fear and joy. Terrifying, but also the most freeing thing I have ever done. And so that's some pretty cool shit,
Yeah.
if I do say so myself.
Yeah, that is awesome. It looks amazing and
Thank you.
I mean, like you said, your cheekbones, they are out here now. Yep.
They are shining.
I love it. I love it. Good for you. So cool. So, as my audience is going to love you dearly as much as I do, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Junielle Rosher as well as at the Joy Calendar. And putting it out there to be held accountable. Also, starting up my YouTube channel again, where you can also find me at Junielle Rosher. Oh, and I
Cool.
also have an email list if people want to join that too. So just shout me out on Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Very, very cool. This was so, so wonderful.
I
Thank you.
had so much fun. I was almost like, "Hey, Mashawn, like we can just go for like another 30 minutes. Like it's totally fine, right?" But I will definitely be back on because this went by super fast.
It did. And
Beautiful.
there, like I said, there are so many other parts of the conversation I wanted to get into, but we will, leave the audience wanting more.
Definitely. And you know what needed to be said today was said today. So that's all that really matters. Being in the present.
Good enough. Move on. So many good gems here today. Thank you, Janielle. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day and keep being high vibe.
Thank you. Bye.